Donald Trump has repeatedly and baselessly called the election result rigged, something which has consistently pushed on social media, causing misinformation to circulate in the aftermath of what we saw last night. Matthew in the Cube has more.
Well, Jack, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg has certainly announced a significant development, and that is that the United States President Donald Trump will be continued to be blocked from accessing both his Facebook and Instagram accounts indefinitely. In a post, Mark Zuckerberg saying that until there was a peaceful and lawful transition of power in the United States, the risks were simply too great to allow Donald Trump to continue using their services. The events last night in the Capitol certainly caught the world's attention, and the basis for all of this is misinformation. For months, we've been hearing unfounded allegations that the United States presidential election was fraudulent and stolen. And when you couple this with rhetoric that is outright on social media calling for a fight, the scenes last night were perhaps not unsurprising. But misinformation has continued to spread in the aftermath of Wednesday evening. For example, you have a notable Republican representative, Mo Brooks, who has alleged this unfounded claim that it was actually Antifa, the anti-fascist group, that were behind the assault. Now, the evidence that he supposedly cites for this on social media is full of caveats. An unidentified congressman told me he was warned by an unidentified police officer that intelligence suggested, and then you have claims here that do not even reference Antifa. There is no hard evidence to support these kind of allegations. Well, for more on this, we can now speak to Gina Laber. She is the managing editor for Europe with NewsGuard, and she joins me now from Geneva. Thank you very much for your time. We've seen a lot of misinformation continuing to spread in the United States, but also here in Europe as well.
Yes, just like we saw in the US and just like you were mentioning just now, in France, in Germany, in Italy, we saw a lot of claims overnight and this morning that Antifa activists were behind the riots and that they orchestrated the violent protests. One well-known French website, for example, this morning published an article that said that perhaps there were some pro-Trump protesters in the event, but that actually it was Antifas with the complicity of the police that entered the building and were responsible for the violence.
Many analysts are saying that last night we saw the true effects of misinformation spreading, particularly around an election. Is this a growing concept as well in Europe, and how dangerous is this for the continent?
It is a very serious problem for Europe, and we ought to take it seriously. In November, after the election day, we saw lots of misinformation about the U.S. electoral voting process spreading to Europe. We counted at NewsGuard more than 40 websites in France, in Italy, in Germany that were spreading false allegations about elections. Right now, we are seeing the same happening with these claims about Antifas orchestrating the events, which is unsubstantiated for the moment. And we saw, you have to remember that last summer this happened too, with QAnon conspiracy theories spreading to Europe. And it is dangerous. It is very worrying. We know that the more someone is exposed to misinformation, the more they are likely to believe it. And we have a lot of distrust in government at the moment because of the pandemic. Keep in mind that last summer, far-right protesters tried to storm the Reichstag in Germany. So this happening yesterday in the US, and the amount of misinformation spreading in Europe should be of tremendous concern in Europe as well.
Gina Laber there from NewsGuard, thank you so much for speaking to us this evening. So there, Jack, you can hear how the real-world consequences of misinformation are being realised in the United States and could soon also be a problem for us here in Europe.
Thank you so much, Matthew, in the Cube.